If you've been diving into trading and you just can't seem to get that consistency that you think you deserve, I think I have the answer to where most of your problems lie. And I'm going to break down how to fix those issues and actually get profitable in this video by doing something simply called trading a strategy, right? You might think that you have a strategy, whether it be buying breakouts or buying dips, but it's probably not a well fleshed out strategy that actually is profitable. So I'm going to kind of show you my strategy that I took on these 2 day trades, breaking down everything about it, my entry criteria, my profit taking criteria, how I found the stocks. I'm not going to leave anything covered in this video, so you can get every piece of information that you need in order to really understand. So stick with me through this video. I'm going to break down everything I know over my 6 years of trading in this one simple video. All right. If you enjoyed this video, all I ask is that you do me a big favor by hitting the like button for the YouTube algo, and let's just jump right in. So let's just kind of get back to the basics, right? The strategy here is using the morning previous resistance as new support. So if we kind of zoom into this chart, you can see that TMBR had its kind of morning resistance right in this 287 area. The pre-market resistance was at about 270 or 280s. We did have this on the watch list for the potential breakout. You can see at market open, it kind of failed its breakout. But then later in the day, it was able to consolidate and actually break out right at about noon. So it had that breakout, ran from 287 up to about 316. That is a pretty significant breakout. It was able to sustain the breakout. So from there, as soon as I saw this candle breakout and close, I was interested in the pullback to test previous resistance as new support, right? Using that basic rule in technical analysis. So once I see the potential setup forming, right? Once I see the strategy, the next step is to plan the trade, right? So from here, what I want to do is actually mark off my levels. We know that the thesis for the trade, so the entry price is 287. The next resistance higher is the first partial profit level. So that is up at 316. And then the max loss level is just the lower support. I chose to use 252. You could also choose to use 235. I chose 252 because I figured if it breaks down through 287, I should get a bounce back to break even before it breaking 252. And because the risk range was a bit too far, I didn't want to choose 235. So that's, the plan, right? And we plug those numbers into the trade by day trade planner to get the size that we can use for the trade. And then it's just about sending the order, right? This isn't something that you have to have like a high-tech, super fast computer to do, because it's not like you're entering and exiting on an instant. You know the setup's there, and then it's just a matter of sending a limit order and waiting for it, right? Like by the time I planned my trade and the stock actually pulled back was like 20 minutes. You could be doing that on the phone, right? It's not really about having super fast reflexes, having the best brokers, all that stuff when you're buying into support. Once it got filled, the main thing that mattered to me was, all right, now I'm just going to look at the line chart, and quite literally, as long as you see this line hold on the line chart, you stick with the trade. And after it started to bounce, I set my first limit sell into the 316 area. Now, always with taking my partials, I never go for the exact line. Just like whenever I'm buying into support, I never go for the exact line. So I set my limit sell for my first partial at 314. And you can see the stock bounced up. It actually tapped 316 pretty much perfectly, but I was filled at 314. So I took my first partial there. And now, right, I'm still expecting the stock to be strong. So whenever it's in between that kind of target and stop area, it's just a matter of as long as support keeps holding, then I just wait. So I just wanted to see this level keep on holding. It pulled off back down, tested it, but then it broke down. You can see this candle here at 1:20 p.m. It closed underneath that line. So from there, I had to be very kind of fast in switching my thinking of no longer being bullish on this stock and recognizing that, all right, this stock is failing. I want to get out. So I set a limit sell to exit the rest of my position back into the retest of that 287 area, and I got out in the next candle. Now, this stock was kind of fortunate for people that were a bit slower on kind of accepting that the trade failed, because it did have that later retest where it bounced up rejected, so you could have sold there as well. You have to be very quick in understanding that a thesis has failed. So many traders, when they come into this position where they're in a stock, maybe has a small bounce, and then it starts to break down, they can very easily convince themselves that, okay, you know what? As long as it holds 275, it's still good. As long as it holds 250, it's still good. And they quickly change the plan that they initially entered the trade with. And that is a big break of a rule, right? Your thesis line is your thesis line, and you cannot modify it when it fails. If it fails, you have to respect the plan and get out of the trade. And then also the most important thing here too is that you never want to get married to one specific stock, right? If one trade fails, just cut it, move on to the next one, right? Because right after this was when we saw the next stock. All right, so before we jump into the next example of this day trading strategy, I just want to give you a quick reminder that we do have a 14-day free trial at TradeBuddy, where you're going to get a chat room, a full course on trading, daily webinars, both in pre-market and post-market, a daily watch list, and everything that you need to become a profitable trader. So click the first link down below if you want more information on that, and I hope to see you inside. So DNMR, very similar setup. This one was not on my watch this morning, but I saw it on my scanners. And this one, you can see, very similar setup where you have a very clean, big resistance here in the morning at 241. The stock pulled back, ran up through into noon, and it broke out from 240s to 260s. So that was a new resistance and had a very nice controlled pullback. Basically, once it started to pull back down into like 259, 258, I already knew that I wanted to trade this stock. So I looked at my levels, I planned it out. I knew that my thesis line was 241. I knew that my first target was up at 261. And as far as my max loss, I chose 211, right? Just following the chart and respecting what the chart says. Even though this is a very far max loss, we have to remember that only about 20% of my failing trades actually hit my max loss. Most of my failing trades will give me the chance for break even. It's not about risk reward on every individual trade. It's about risk reward on the overall setup over hundreds of trades, which you get by tracking over time. So then, from there, I got the size I wanted. I sent like a limit buy right at 241, and then I just waited. It took like 30, 40 minutes for it to finally pull back, but then it finally did, bounced off that level perfectly. And then once it started to bounce, just do the same thing. Send a limit sell into the first partial at 261. We had that bounce up. I got my first fill, and then same exact thing as like on TMBR. When it starts to pull back, the main thing that matters to me is that all I need to do is just hold support. And this is a very big thing too, right? It's a very small detail, but so many traders who are in the same position as me, say for example, you were a trader who traded TMBR, you saw it had the same setup, and you saw that once it rejected that high of day, it broke lower. And because you were mad that TMBR failed, once you saw DNMR reject and start to pull back, you tried to protect yourself and say, you know what? I'm not going to let the market do what it did to me on TMBR. I'm going to sell the rest here, because I'm smarter than the market. Because you think you can predict that because TMBR failed, so will DNMR. But as you can see, that's not the case. DNMR is still strong. You have to just kind of try to avoid predicting as much as you can. Treat every stock as an individual kind of event and just stick to the basic rules. Now, DNMR can still fail, right? But that's okay. I've already locked in some profits on it. But as long as it can hold 241, it still is strong to me. And that's what my overall strategy is kind of based on. So I will be swinging this one over the weekend. As long as it doesn't have anything crazy happen in after hours or pre-market on Monday. But yeah, this one, as long as it holds 241, it's good to me. So both very simple, basic setups. As far as in this current market, the main things about this strategy is that usually the breakouts are going to happen probably after 11 a.m. because you want to see that morning rejection and resistance. And the reasons for that is because those morning rejections show you that there are short sellers at that price, right? I mean, quite literally, if a stock spikes up and rejects at a price, that means that there's more sellers than buyers. So more sellers also means more short sellers. And when it breaks out above that, anyone who's shorted there is now trapped as long as it holds support. And that's the entire thing about this strategy. So if you want to join us in TradeBuddy, we have a 14-day free trial down below. I do pre-market webinars every single day where I talk about all the stocks I'm watching. I have a full watch list breakdown posted. And I also do trade recap webinars every single day. No other mentor in the space does this many webinars. Trust me, I've checked. And we have a whole community of traders who trade every single day, plus a course, plus so many other tools that will help you succeed as a trader. You can access it right now. Click the first link down below. 14 days, completely free, no strings attached.